Energy Media readers, we're going to be talking about hydrogen and transportation today. And we talk a lot about electrification of the transportation, but there are some applications such as rail and maybe aviation where electrification, big batteries are not appropriate, but hydrogen might be the answer. And to discuss that, I'm joined by Thomas Kock-Blank from Rocky Mountain Institute. So welcome to the interview, Thomas.
Thanks, Markham.
Give me an overview of hydrogen and transportation, please.
Of course, and I think similarly to as the industrial applications, hydrogen is really relevant for sectors where electrification, for some reason, is challenging. And I think the main challenge you get to is the energy density of the storage, which effectively is a battery if you're electrifying, or hydrogen if in a hydrogen tank if that's your energy carrier. And it's just very basically, you end up with a very heavy energy storage that you need to haul around, which adds to the what I would call the non-value adding weight of the vehicle.
Right, and so if we're talking about rail, for instance, and you know those locomotives, I mean, the rail moves a tremendous amount of freight in Canada and the U.S., and it burns diesel, and diesel has all sorts of problems, including particulates and other things in it, and so there's a number of advantages of switching over to hydrogen. So let's take the rail example. How easy is it to retrofit a diesel electric locomotive and to use hydrogen?
Good question, and I should flag that this is not my area of expertise in terms of actual locomotive technologies, but a fuel cell locomotive would effectively be an electric locomotive because the drivetrain is electric, and you would use hydrogen with fuel cells to as a storage rather than batteries or an overhead supply line. In my understanding of the rail opportunity is for railways where you don't have access to electricity, the infrastructure cost of electrifying is pretty high. So then you would look at opportunities of replacing the diesel engine with either batteries or hydrogen, and just the amount of power you need to move those long, heavy trains speaks for a lot of energy that you need to store. And then again, batteries are just adding a lot of weight to the train that you need to pull.
What about aviation? This seems to be an issue that is going to bedevil us for a long time. It's really tough to add any kind of weight to an airplane, especially ones that are on long haul flights. So is there any progress being made in aviation?
There is a lot of discussions around alternative fuels in the aviation industry, and I think, and it ranges from biofuel alternatives or and all the way to, and not actually hydrogen, but what I would call refined hydrogen products. So you can imagine, similarly as you have a refinery to produce different qualities of fuels from crude oil, you can have a refinery, if you like, of hydrogen, which creates, for example, ammonia or other molecules that are easier to transport. So the benefits are, so let me put it this way: the challenge with hydrogen is that it's expensive and hard to liquefy. Which means that it needs a lot of volume, not only weight, you need a lot of volume of hydrogen. And ammonia, for example, is easier to liquefy, which gives you that energy density that you're looking for. And specifically for aviation, it's not only a weight issue, it's also a volume constraint in terms of how much fuel you can carry.
Now, we had Mike Roth from the North American Freight Fuel Efficiency Association, I think his organization is called, and he was talking about electrification of medium haul freight trucking. And the question then becomes, what do we do for longer haul, which maybe doesn't lend itself to electrification? Is this an area where hydrogen could play a role?
So Mike is really the expert here, but learning from him, I think, again, the short answer is yes, hydrogen can definitely play a role in long haul. I think Honestly, given the challenge of the transition that at least we as a mission-oriented organization are looking at, we might need both technologies in side by side, right? I think there is some experts are talking about setting up a series of medium hauls with basically containers, moving from truck to truck as they do the medium hauls, and that would enable electrification. But then that comes with a package of sort of operational changes for the industry that might be challenging and might be beneficial. Again, for running trucks the way we do it today for the long haul speaks towards a benefit for hydrogen.
Final question, Thomas. What kind of a timeline are we looking at for building out the infrastructure for transportation and the capacity within these various industries to use hydrogen?
Oh, that's a good question. I think you're already seeing some of the OEMs, the truck manufacturers are building their own infrastructure, and that's similar, I think, or analogous to Tesla's charging infrastructure network that they built on their own. I think you will, and that has been closely followed by more, if you like, state or government-sponsored structures. And I think we'll see a similar development for hydrogen as well. Obviously, the OEMs have interest in ensuring a critical density of charging stations. And the second thing that happens is, especially in the US, where you have the fleets are usually owned by the companies who want to move their goods. They're likely also to build their own infrastructure and integrate it into their warehouse footprint.
Excellent. Thomas, thank you very much. Really appreciate this. And with the hydrogen gaining a lot of attention as a fuel in various industries, I'm sure we'll be talking to you again in the near future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.